for diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in the world of corporate and government contracting. It's not just a show, it's a movement. So get ready for another dynamic journey as we wake up the world to a new era of opportunities and empowerment. Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Ivory.
Welcome to the Wake Up Show. My name is Larry Ivory, and I am the President and CEO of the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce and Chairman of the Board of the National Black Chamber of Commerce in Washington, D.C. And today, what we do as a chamber is that we help strengthen Black business. That's our mission. Every day we get up, this is what we do. Hey, but let me get right in and introduce our host, my co-host today. We have none other than the incredible, the infallible Buddy Love. But Buddy Love, talk to me, man.
Wait a minute, man. Wait a minute. You over there sounded like me. You over there sounded like me. Come on now. This is your main man, Buddy Love, for the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce. All right? And the professional dude that does his thing, as I normally do. But we're going to keep it short and sweet today, and we're going to pass it right back to you, Brad.
Hey, let me also introduce our other co-host here, none other than MC. I want to call him MC Hammer, but I'm going to call him this MC. Okay.
Good morning. We're going to wake it up on this morning. This is one of your co-hosts, MC Pearson from 25 Mike Print. We're going to break this thing open today because we're going to demystify some of the nonsense that they are doing to stifle Black business. And I'm excited because we're going to open this up on the day. We're going to light some fires, prayers.
Absolutely. Hey, and without a doubt, let me introduce, last but not least, none other than Lord Mike. Lord Mike, talk to us.
Peace and blessings to the true and living and grand rising. We are all the way up. I know I'm excited too, MC. We're going to have some great conversation today and really touch on some fire issues, man. So what are we talking about today, President Ivory?
Today, guys, we're going to talk about there's a lot of ways to stop us from achieving the objective of entrepreneurship and contract opportunities. And today we're going to talk about what we call Donald Trump had the comment called the book called The Art of the Deal. We call it The Art of the Stall. So we're going to talk about the stall tactics. So Mike, you had something you wanted to ask me in reference to that. And I want you to give us the definition of the stall. What does it mean to stall by Webster or by the dictionary?
Webster's dictionary defines the stall as to stop or cause to stop making progress. And I was wondering, because we threw that definition up there because I was wondering, are we talking literally stalling Black businesses out? Is that what we're talking about today?
That's exactly what we're talking about today. So here's what the audience, I want you to walk with us in this journey because there are techniques that people use to stop us, to impede our progress, to stop us from winning. And the psychology of all that is important for us to know how they do it and to be able to defend against it at the same time. So today we're going to get knee deep in the art of the stall and how do they do that and how do they make that happen at the same time. It's interesting when we talk about the technique of stalling, it's important to understand that this is a strategy that they have used very effectively across the country to ensure that we don't participate in procurements and opportunities because they stall us out and they keep us waiting until eventually we simply give up. And I'm going to have MC and all of you kind of give your perspective on the stall game from a different point of view. And probably let's go ahead, MC. How much time we got before we go into a break? Maybe MC, you want to go ahead and do your piece?
So to get you to understand what the stall tactic is, you ever had somebody that calls you on the phone and they need you to do something and they really irritate you. You don't want to listen, but you're obligated to listen. And so what do? You tell them, you know what, I'm gonna get back to you on that. And so some time goes by and they haven't received a response and they pick up the phone and they call you again. And you say, you know what? I was just thinking about that. You know what? Let me get back to you again. I am working on it. And you begin to understand that maybe they aren't working on it. And when you contact them again, they say, oh, you know what? I did do some research. And now they're going to put you, they're going to give you some busy work to do. And they're going to give you 2 or 3 things that need to happen in order for them to service you, but they know that these 2 or 3 things are maybe insurmountable, and they're just hoping that you're not going to make it back to them. And so they've stalled you out, they've pushed you to the side, they've marginalized you so that you cannot get to the contract, you can't get to your goal, you can't get to this thing that you've been trying to aspire for. And that is an example of a stall tactic.
Now that seems kind of visceral. It seems kind of visceral and highly offensive. You know what I'm saying? If you're on the other end of that line, you're like, man, I need some aid and assist or something. But what I'm wondering is, we have some studious Black-owned businesses and entrepreneurs and Black business people and professionals, right? Can they really be stalled out like that? Because that just seems like, that's just unprofessional. Unethical almost. Can it really be that straightforward? Can the stall game be that straightforward?
Look, Mike, let's just call it what it is. They want to keep us constipated.
That's
the stall. They're keeping us constipated. They don't want us to flow.
Now we get graphic.
They don't want us to flow, brother. Let's just call it what it is. They're clogging up the lanes.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so, to President Ivory's point, we see this constantly amongst us as business owners, as Black business owners, that things are always put in place to keep us from reaching the end zone. As you would love to say, Lord Mike, they keep moving the goalposts.
Indeed.
All the time, Chris.
And you know what? See, here's the thing. The stall game, it creates economic disparities, right? It creates a resource drain. It creates discouragement and systematic bias. And the crazy thing about it is there's no accountability. Except today on the Wake Up Show Chicago. With President Larry Ivory,
Absolutely,
we're going to have some accountability.
Put your feet on the fire.
And let me just say this to our audience, to our listening audience. We spend a lot of time examining, and we've been involved in procurement, and we've seen the good, bad, and the ugly. And what I've known and what I've seen personally, and others who are in this game have seen, there is a legitimate game that they play to kind of keep things stalled out. And I'm going to give you a quick example of this. When I was on the BEP Council 10 years ago, we passed the sheltered market unanimously.
I remember that.
And only we could pass it. Okay. And what the sheltered market said clearly is that at every BEP Council meeting, now this is a law, that we shall have time set aside to discuss discrimination. And if we find it, we shall establish a sheltered market to correct it.
Okay. So we don't have to schedule. We don't have to sign up to give commentary at every meeting. They're supposed to appropriate some time.
Absolutely, every time. Okay. Now, the fact of the matter, they're not doing that.
Yeah.
But here's the other side of this. We did this 10 years ago. We have how many sheltered markets you guys think we got?
I don't want to pull the thunder out of
there. Well, I'm not part of one. My business is not part of one. But what about your business?
It's not at all. So
okay. There's only 2 sheltered markets, ladies and gentlemen. Well, and we're going to come back and talk more about that.
Got to get
just
a
moment.
More.
Just a moment.
Wake up.
Welcome to the Future of Energy. Mark your calendars for February 29, 2024 for the Clean Energy Business Summit at Malcolm X College in Chicago. Discover why the summit is a must-attend event. Immerse yourself in cutting-edge insights exploring AI application in clean energy technology. Join strategic workshops tailored for the utility industry. Engage in focused networking opportunities and innovative discussions. This is more than a conference. It's a hub for matchmaking making and forging powerful connections. Don't miss out on this transformative day happening on February 29, 2024 from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Malcolm X College, 1900 West Jackson Boulevard in Chicago, Illinois. Proudly sponsored by the Minority Business Development Agency Business Center, U.S. Department of Commerce, Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce, and Strategic Exceptions Professional Consulting. Ready to be part of the transition to renewables by 2050? Register now on Eventbrite.
Welcome back
Search
to the
for
Wake Up
Clean
Show,
Energy
all the way
Business
woke.
Summit 2024. Join us at the forefront of the clean energy revolution.
We are woke, indeed. Right back. Welcome to the Wake Up Show, 773-591-1690. Punch at Wake Up Show into your browser. You'll be live with us on our YouTube channel. We got a guest coming up, going to have a conversation with us. And when we went to break, we were talking about the sheltered market, which we got to jump back into. MC, you gave a very concise analogy, as brutal as it was. You gave us a great analogy. Now, take us into the reality of it real quick, buddy love, if you would.
Well, you know what? Since I sit as this chair of cannabis, I know we haven't talked cannabis in a long time, but we are definitely an example of the stall tactic, what goes on in the space,
Real.
Especially how they put it out in the forefront. Hey, man, we're going to get you all these licenses. We're going to help you open the door. We're going to find you access to capital. We're going to make sure you have all the resources you need to perform and get this generational wealth. But here we are going into the fourth year in, and I only think we got maybe 2 black dispensaries open, if that. Why? Because there's no access to funding. There's no access to resources. But at the same time, last year, you did another round of licenses we're going to dumb it down. You don't have to pay this big ticket. You can get it for $250. But to rack you up again to now say, hey, you owe us $40,000 because you got to pay on these fees for a building and a license that you can't even use. We're going to stall you out. So why don't you just go ahead and sell it to us? We'll go ahead and take, when I mean us, I mean MSOs, multi-state operators that have that big bag that can actually do work with those licenses, as opposed to you and I trying to get in and do our thing in the space. So they're stalling us out so they can take the licenses and do what they need to do to add on to their bag.
You can't keep the cash flow. You can't keep it open.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So bring us back, though, President Ivory, because we left it at, it's been 10 years since we launched the sheltered market. And we know the disparity has not lightened up. Correct. It's still heavy. We still suffered in the space, but they've only released 2 in 10 years?
2 sheltered markets in the span of approximately 10 years. And now if you take a look at where they released them at, it was in IT and also marketing and advertising. Okay. Now, when we did those, did we eliminate the disparity? Because it indicates that you shall establish a shelter market to correct it. Now, the only thing I'm pointing out is that they've drugged this out for so long. It seems like the only place that we have discrimination is in IT and in advertising and marketing. Now, any of our listening audience, anyone out there, anyone who's listening to this conversation knows that African Americans in every possible discipline aren't participating in a fair and equitable way. So there's discrimination on an ongoing basis. And the question is, how come we haven't continued to move forward? Now, people will bring policy. They'll bring new people coming in to the director of CMS. They got new organizations. They got all kinds of ways of just kind of stalling this thing out, even to a point that sometimes when people understand it, those people simply get weighted out and they're no longer there. And therefore, new people don't have the same background and expertise at the same time. So in the end result, it impedes our progress. And our progress is what? Based upon the law, not based upon Larry, but the law says, the procurement law says, at every meeting, you shall have time set aside to address discrimination. And if you find discrimination, you shall, not may or could or can consider, you shall establish a sheltered market to correct the discrimination. Senator Claiborne and I talk about this all the time. We don't have at the BEP Council meeting, at least I'm not seeing it, and I know we got some fantastic people, but we need to push to make sure that people abide by the law when the law is there to do what it's designed to do.
I could tell you firsthand. I've been on a number of those calls myself, and I don't recollect having a lot of discrimination conversations built into those meetings.
I've been on a few of those calls myself, and I haven't seen it either. And and the crazy part about it is, one of the ways that we're drowning out these small businesses is because small businesses don't necessarily have the bandwidth or the finances or the administration as part of their business to be able to participate in a long and drawn out process.
Yeah.
And they know this because at the end of the day, small businesses still have to do things that bring in revenue, and to chase after this
in real time
is resource draining.
So that's on small businesses, but what about the larger business? Because we know we have some strong Black-owned businesses that are out there going for these opportunities there. How are they stalling them out?
Hey, it's the same strategy. So I'm going to talk about two examples, real examples that we have experienced. We talked about them on the radio show. And we're going to give you a little bit of insight. And I hope that you follow us in terms of understanding this is a strategy and a technique that's been used very effectively against Black businesses to wait them out, to stall them out, and to prolong the process. And we're going to talk about number one, we're going to talk about we need someone else is on the line there, so let's make sure we don't interrupt the flow here. So what we want to do, we want to talk about two things. Number one is the whole issue of Mintex.
Okay.
Now, Mintex was a company that does debt collection. Okay. So I'm going to show you the stall game.
We listen slow.
Mintex was a company that does debt collection. The IRS has a contract for debt collection that they competed for. They had the incumbent had the 6 incumbents won, and there were no African Americans whatsoever that participated in it. We then got involved and asked the procurement people to put a goal on it, and they reluctantly decided to put a goal on it. Once they put the goal on it, which took some time, they put a goal that said we're going to put a 5%. We're going to ask them to do a 5%. They decided that in fact that they requested it, they decided that we were not going to do it. So that was some time that was taking because they said they weren't going to do it. Then we kept pushing to say, look, let's do something. And we kept, beating the drum and making sure that people understood that Black people, Hispanic people, all people pay taxes and state taxes, and they go into collection sometime and they call you to get that money. And so what happened with that is that they decided after a long period of time, they put out another RFP for a supplemental contract to have diversity and inclusion. 3 companies competed for it. 1 company was African American, and 2 other companies were non-African Americans.
Quick question. This supplemental contract they put out, that wasn't the original contract. How was it in comparison to the original one? Was it for the whole nut, or was it just for a...
It was for 5% approximately of the contract that they had. So a 5% participation goal of one of the most lucrative contracts in debt collection that you can have. Now, our firm decided they were going to compete for it. 2 firms were kicked out and 1 firm was left. They decided, again, took them a long time to decide. Again, this is a stall tactic. They took time. They took more and more time to stall it out, keep going back and forth. He put an enormous amount of money to get himself in a position to where he could pass the mustard, so that when he responded to the RFP, that we thought he would be successful. Now, when they had the RFP, they disqualified him based upon what I consider to be nonsense. The nonsense, as we know, was the issue he did not have 4 reference.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay,
that.
4.
Right.
He had 4, but 2 of them came from the city of Chicago, and therefore they came from the same agency. Therefore, he did not qualify based upon that. But I say, the fact of the matter is that I know throughout the state, there has been many of times where they've had the University of Illinois, who has 20, 30 different departments. They can get a resume from one department for the next department and still win a contract because that's form of reference. So not from the same department.
Mhm.
But in his case, they did not allow that.
Mm.
The other part of his issue, again, was the issue of, did he have not only
I remember that. Right? Did he have the experience?
did he have the experience?
Yeah.
And when you look in the RFP, it didn't say that you had to have 15 years of experience with the revenue department. It didn't define that. And so how do you define it after the fact?
Right.
If you had 10 years of experience with the city of Chicago, Cook County, and a year and a half experience with revenue with the state of Missouri, then how do you define that's not enough experience?
Right.
Now, he didn't have to file a complaint, which now, keep in mind, when you're doing debt collection, every year you go past, you're taking the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
So this has gone on 2 years, on the third year, ending of the third year now, and he still hasn't. So he filed a complaint, and the CPO decided that his complaint, even though there was one of the issues in terms of experience they agreed upon, but the issue of the reference did not. And therefore, it took them a long time to decide not to award that contract. So keep in mind, he's invested the money. He's sitting here. You're going from 1 year to 2 years to 3 years, and eventually you get to the fourth year and the fifth year. And the fifth year, the contract is over.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a technique to where he's not participating, and no one's really responding to the issue of why not. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's a stall tactic.
Yeah.
That's very effective. It's to, what did it say, Mike? The definition to impede one's progress.
Yeah, to stop or to cause to stop progress.
Okay, that's stopping progress. Now, the other classic example.
So you know what? We got 2 minutes before commercial. We got 2 callers. Let's take one of these callers before the commercial break because we got Mr. Raphael coming on afterwards. So, Miss Latoya, you are on the Wake Up Show Chicago. Come on, wake us up. You got 30 seconds.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Rise and shine.
Hey, I was calling about these evictions. I'm going through something right now in my life where I've been evicted. I've offered the landlord eviction money for the property where I'm staying at, and I was given this number to be called because I know that y'all radio station have a lot of ideas and y'all sending out a lot of messages, and I'm looking for some help. I've been living in this apartment for 3 years when the apartment was not easily mine. At first it was me and my brothers, and then I got left holding the bag. However, I'm fighting this eviction, and they just give me this notice saying that I'm getting evicted. But my household is the household for many people. Like, it's a happy household for like.
You know what, Latoya? Hold on, Latoya. You know what? We're not necessarily the show for that, but we're going to take your information because we might have some resources. So
and we'll give you a call back and find someone that can respond.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
So we're talking about these crazy stall tactics. And in the meantime, out of this $55 billion budget, we get appropriated nothing and get stalled out when we ask to get some of the remaining peanuts. We're going to talk more about that when we come back.
And we're going to have Raphael Underwood from Ohio next on the show.
It's the Wake Up Show.
Attention, all entrepreneurs and business owners. Tune into the Wake Up Show Chicago on YouTube for expert insights, valuable resources, and inspiration to grow your Black-owned business. Go to YouTube and search for @Wake Up Show Chicago and hit subscribe and the notification bell to subscribe to the Wake Up Show Chicago. For behind the scenes and in-studio action, don't miss a single episode. Engage with us in real time. Comment live on YouTube and connect with like-minded entrepreneurs. Hosted by Larry Ivory, Buddy Love, and MC Pearson. The Wake Up Show Chicago empowers Black-owned businesses powered by Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce. Subscribe, engage, and elevate your business journey today. Are you ready to boost your brand's visibility and share your message with our engaged audience? You can. Become a sponsor of the Wake Up Show Chicago and get your brand in the spotlight. Our show reaches a diverse, dynamic, and dedicated audience. Connect with us to learn more about sponsorship opportunities. Call 309-740-4430 today and let's elevate your brand together. Don't miss out on this chance to make an impact. Call 309-740-4430 now. Call 309-740-4430 now.
Welcome back to the Wake Up Show Chicago, where we are cracking the books open today. We are talking about the stall tactic, but we want to take this moment to remind everybody that the Clean Energy Summit is coming up on the 29th. We need you to go and register at strategicexceptions.com. That is strategicexceptions.com. There not only will be great opportunities for matchmaking. We're talking about setting your business up with businesses that you can do business with and make money, but it's also going to be a lot of opportunities for networking and growing your business. So please visit strategicexceptions.com because the chamber is going to be there and we want you to be there too. So prayers, I need you to take us back because we actually have some friends of the chamber that have experienced the stall tactic and break it down for us how it's even affecting us as families and as Black people in our communities. But you know, open that up for us, prayers.
Hey, I am, and I'm excited too. As soon as we get through with this piece, we're going to introduce our special guest from Ohio because he understands the art of the stall also. So we're going to bring him on in a minute. But let me just say this. You know, Dr. Sterling, Simcoe Solution, has been a company who's been trying to get in the door of the state of Illinois because of healthcare disparities that exist within the state of Illinois. He's been working hard. He's invested millions of dollars to try to penetrate this market and do some things that will help Black business, Black people in the state of Illinois.
Mhm.
He's even had money appropriated that he still hasn't gotten.
Mhm.
He's won contracts where he's actually won the complaint.
Mhm.
He's won the complaint. When you send the complaint to the CPO and they got a ruler, they said, guess what? You were right. You should have had a higher score and you should have participated in the procurement. What's happened? Nothing. This has happened for years and years. And what they do is that it is just a game of keep waiting you out, spending more money until eventually you're like the grasshopper, Mike.
Yeah.
You ever heard the
Oh,
grasshopper
yeah.
example?
Oh, you know, I love that. I
Where the
love that story.
grasshoppers just keep trying to jump out of the jar.
They got a lid on it.
Got a
at
lid
first.
on it. They can't get out. They keep jumping. What did they finally end up doing?
Well, quit sooner than later. The grasshopper just stops even trying, and when you take that lid off, he just sits there. He doesn't do anything.
The psychological warfare of what they do here we have to understand that too, because eventually when we don't participate, when we have every legitimate right, when we've done everything that we're supposed to do, and they still block us, they still stall us out, they still use techniques to push the envelope down the road so nothing happens. How do you win a formal complaint?
Yeah.
And nothing, you're no better off as if you had not won the complaint.
Because see, that's where I'm really befuddled right there. Because the process that Mentex went through, they were stalled out at like 4 specific points. But when we say that the Simcoe Solution actually was awarded a piece at one time, and then they had to lodge a complaint against the bid that they lost, and then they won the complaint.
Right.
And still, how do you stall somebody out from there?
They're no better off. And the fact of the matter is, he's probably, I think, Dr. Sterling is probably doing business in 37 other states.
Yeah, no doubt.
Instead of doing business in Illinois.
Mhm.
And what he does would help Black businesses because we're talking about the healthier outcome. We have to understand these are techniques and strategies. So, Raphael, this is not unique. Raphael Underwood, my good friend out of Columbus, Ohio, is with us today. And Raphael, is this unique to Illinois Tell us a little bit about who you are, and then give us some perspective in terms of what you've seen, because you got a rich history of being involved in procurement in the state of Ohio.
Good morning to your guests and listeners, Larry. Absolutely, this is not unique to the state of Illinois. As a matter of fact, I would venture to say that this goes on in all 50 states with any type of sheltered market programs or set asides or minority business procurement programs. And let me first explain to the people that I worked for the state of Ohio from 1988 to 1995. And my primary responsibility was to provide management and technical assistance to minority businesses all over the state of Ohio. I was the first ever economic development director for the county of Peoria, Illinois. And unfortunately, these things are baked into the systems that administer these programs. For instance, while working at the state of Ohio, I came across an article. This stall tactic has been going on since the advent of time. It was not only used against minority businesses, but these people are so shrewd. If they had a competitor and they subcontracted with their competitor, they would use this against their competitor to weed out competitors. I came across an article back in 1989, actually, that actually explained to prime contractors how to stall the payments, the work of the subcontractor to eventually drive the subcontractor out of business, because as a subcontractor, you extend your credit, your services, your time, and all of those things to the prime, thinking that at the end of this, in 30 days, I'm going to get paid. Well, no, they'll drag it out 60 days. They'll tell you, well, the state hasn't paid me, or this hasn't paid. The state of Ohio passed a law that all invoices have to be paid within 30 days, whether you were a prime or a sub, and this still goes on. This, I'm telling you, this tactic has been around, and it is not going to go away until we, as the people, we need to understand who we're doing business with. And when I tell you we need to understand who we're doing business, how many of us drive Teslas? How many minority suppliers you think Tesla got making auto parts for them? You hear what the owner of the company's philosophy is.
So it's not just baked in the cake, it's part of the recipe.
It's part of the recipe to ensure that your community, our community, does not rise to the level of self-sufficiency. One of the biggest con games they use against us is race. Because here's what I will submit to you. Those poor white people out in the urban areas or in the rural areas need the same thing that poor blacks and Hispanics and other people in the urban areas need, which is they want good schools for their children. They want a decent way to make a living. They want to participate in this great democracy, which is called America, which guarantees that, but does not live up to that. And one of the ways we, myself included, we have to be conscious is about where we spend our dollars, who we give our dollars to. Because just because you want to drive an electric car, Tesla ain't the only one in the game.
Come on now.
Absolutely.
You're not the only one in the game.
Hey, Raphael, let me just stop you for just a moment. One of the things that concerns me is that, based upon my experience and examples like we mentioned with Dr. Sterling, where they've passed a a $55 billion budget, just recently. But there's nothing set aside in that, even though dollars were appropriated. It's hard for me. I'm struggling when we've done, and we're not going to be poor me's here on our show. And
Right.
we ain't saying black folks can't overcome, because they will, and they have, and they
They have.
shall.
Absolutely.
But we have to understand this is a technique that people use to stop us from participating. And when a person like a Jeffrey Sterling, who has a world-class team, put in a bid, done everything they're supposed to do. It has economic benefit to the state, because if you do preventive care, that's good for the state. That reduces the healthcare costs. If you have culturally sensitive, where more blacks are dealing in that area instead of white people who lack the sensitivity sometimes, and that would be true if you were in China.
Mhm.
So we understand that, and when you do all those things, and at the end of the day, you still can't get in
Mhm.
to Illinois, then there's a problem. Now we got the Democratic convention coming up.
Mhm.
Okay, it's coming up, and we're proud that we have it. Thanks to Illinois for bringing the Democratic convention to Illinois.
Mhm.
But see, the other side of that question is that, and I think that perhaps we'll have another. Perhaps at some point in time, we may have another governor, or we may have a person, maybe the governor, who runs for president of the United States.
Mhm.
And, if he runs for president of the United States, he has to be a champion for the people. So what I would say to the governor and to his staff, on these two issues of clear, um, clear issue of unfairness,
Mhm.
that he can be a champion. And if he ever decides to run for president, then we can be champions for him, because he's heard the voice of issues that can be easily resolved. Because with Dr. Sterling, he's world class. He's done everything he's supposed to have done. The caucus has to weigh in. We got to get this done. And we keep waiting.
Mhm.
We keep trying to follow the rules and regulations and doing everything we can do, but we're still missing the ball. So we got to have someone within the administration that says, wait a minute, let's take a real look at this with open eyes and see, um, based upon the complaint that was filed with the CPO, Ellen
Mhm.
Daly, that Ellen and them agreed that, yeah, that's right, you did not grade him appropriately and he should have been awarded a contract. The firm that has a contract
Mhm.
is only doing 1% participation. 1%. If Dr. Sterling had gotten the contract, the service would not deteriorate. It would probably be better. And on top of it, you'd probably be doing 50%, 60%, 70% minority participation in a multi-trillion-dollar industry
Yeah.
at the same time. So we're asking people, legislators, we're asking the governor, we're asking them to take time to examine it. We would be more than happy to give you the information so that we can help bring this to a conclusion. And that's all we're asking for.
Yeah.
Because
And
we want to see, in our opinion, we want to see another president coming from the great state of Illinois. But we can't support anything that when people don't listen to the cries of Black business and see what we see happening on an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
We'll be right
and
back.
Larry, and that's just holistic, because you want your community as a whole to thrive. Even
We'd
here
like
in
to
Ohio,
welcome you
just
to
as
the Wake Up
recent.
Show Chicago, and we're going to continue this conversation right after the break.
Welcome to the Future of Energy. Mark your calendars for February 29, 2024 for the Clean Energy Business Summit at Malcolm X College in Chicago. Discover why the summit is a must-attend event. Immerse yourself in cutting-edge insights exploring AI application in clean energy technology. Join strategic workshops tailored for the utility industry. Engage in focused networking opportunities and innovative discussions. This is more than a conference. It's a hub for matchmaking, making and forging powerful connections. Don't miss out on this transformative day happening on February 29, 2024 from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Malcolm X College, 1900 West Jackson Boulevard in Chicago, Illinois. Proudly sponsored by the Minority Business Development Agency Business Center, U.S. Department of Commerce, Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce, and Strategic Exceptions Professional Consulting. Ready to be part of the transition to renewables by 2050? Register now on Eventbrite. Search for Clean Energy Business Summit 2024. Join us at the forefront of the clean energy revolution. The future is here, and it's green. Clean Energy Business Summit 2024, powering tomorrow today. Black Chamber of Commerce, and Strategic Exceptions Professional Consulting. Ready to be part of the transition to renewables by 2050? Register now on Eventbrite. Search for Clean Energy Business Summit 2024. Join us at the forefront of the clean energy revolution. The future is here, and it's green. Clean Energy Business Summit 2024, powering tomorrow today.
And we are back to the Wake Up Show Chicago, powered by the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce. Look, I want you to pay attention to me right now. I want to talk to you a little bit about Lobby Day 2024. Okay, Lobby Day is going to take place in Springfield, Illinois, scheduled in April of this year. It stands as a pivotal event for entrepreneurs, advocates, and policymakers alike. This gathering serves as a platform to address crucial topics ranging from fostering growth in what we call the both the small and large businesses to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion, and all the initiatives and everything in between. All right. Particularly significant is the focus on how these discussions directly impact minority business owners, highlighting the importance of representation and equitable opportunities. So continue to listen to us here each and every Saturday on the Wake Up Show Chicago to get the latest discussions as we get closer to Lobby Day. And you need to be on this bus because we got to do what we do to make change. Come on, Prayers, what we got?
Hey, Raphael, we cut you off, man, but we want to pass the ball back to you, man. Go ahead and share
Well, I
with
was
us.
just saying, even as recently as 2023, we had a contractor here get a trucking, a hauling contract for a highway project. And when he got to the gravel plants, they refused to load his trucks. Now we're talking about a company that's been around, like you said, that had the longevity, had the wherewithal. They literally refused to load the gravel on his trucks because he was a minority-owned, Black-owned company. And one of the things when we lodged the complaint with the Department of Transportation here in Ohio, we asked, well, don't you have the power? This is a state contract. You awarded this company, regardless of who's driving a truck, to load gravel for this project to take place. Instead, you granted a waiver when the gravel pit complained to you about this company that's had X number of experience, X number of this, X number. There was no reason for them not to load that man's trucks with gravels other than the fact he was a Black-owned company coming to pick up gravel for a project that he legitimately bid on and won. And I guess what I'm saying, Larry, is this is not unique to Illinois. This is why it's so important that we all come together. People from Ohio, if y'all here under the sound of my voice, we need to be attending their lobbying day. Likewise, we need a lobbying day of our own, because until we come together as a community and demand, because one of the things we've been very polite in this, in requesting and suggesting and doing all this, it's time to demand. It's time to make some demands now on systematic changes that'll work. What happens at the end of we found, in the case of Illinois, we found this man had everything he is, yet he got shut out of the participation. Well, what's the remedy for that? If the remedy is shelter market, no. The remedy should be shut this project down right now, find out what's left, and make sure this man is a part of it.
That's
See,
it. That's it, Raphael.
that's
Hey, I know that, you and I share the same commitment to fighting for Black businesses all around the country, and especially your leadership in Ohio. We have to be vigilant. And I'd say to the audience and everybody else, that's why Lobby Day is so important. And that's why, it feels like when you say that someone won't let you dump a truck that's been qualified and it won't let them dump, it sounds like we're in the 1920s,
Yeah.
yes.
where
They didn't have time to
Exactly.
wait to stall them out. They
where
just said, we just
yeah,
gonna cut you
where
off.
we couldn't, it seems like we've made very little progress. And I think it's so important for us, and that's why we do what we do here at the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce. We're an advocate for Black business. Our job is to be a voice and to educate Black business owners. That's why we're talking about the art of the stall. There's a lot of different ways that they prevent us from participating. They build more rules, more regulations. They bring people in, they bring people out. It's the game. And until we learn how to fight against that game, it's not going to change. MC?
You know, the other reason that this is so important is because, statistically, Black-owned businesses hire people who look like them. And when we have companies like Dr. Sterling, that is easier for him to do business outside of the state of Illinois, then what happens is that Illinois citizens who look like us, we remove their economic empowerment, because if they're not getting hired by our corporations that look like us, that means that we're not bringing those finances back into our communities. We're not bringing them back into our schools. You're stifling our ability to turn the ships around, even in our own communities. And so when Black businesses are being attacked, stifled, when they're being the art of the stall is being applied to Black businesses, that means it's being applied to the Black community in large. And that is why this has to be such an important thing. But I love what you said earlier, how our governor, he wrote the bill. They put the new things in place for the citizens of Illinois. And I think that he is the type of champion that we need to take on this cause, because if Black businesses are being stalled, that means that the citizens of Illinois are being stalled as well.
Absolutely.
And I think that he's the champion that we need to help to try to fight this and
Yeah.
partner with.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. This ideal of a more perfect union is an ideal. We have a long way to go, and we're at a very critical state coming up in this 2024 election. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but democracy is on trial, and we better be very careful in terms of people who are moving the agenda to get rid of affirmative action, all the other things that.
Mhm.
But if we're not talking about how we strengthen, and we say this all the time, the only way from poverty to prosperity is through entrepreneurship and education
Every day, all day.
at the end of the day. And if we take a look at Black participation, I saw a program, Buddy Love, we're going to talk about cannabis. They said on a national level, only 0.2%, not 2%,
Mhm.
0.2% of the dispensaries are owned by African
In
Americans
the country.
in the country.
You hear that?
0.2%.
In the country. And think about how many dispensaries there are in the country.
Yeah.
And
0.2.
and that includes Snoop Dogg. So and he's probably the 0.2%.
That's cold. That's cold blooded, man.
Hey, no. I'm not knocking it, because you get in where you can fit in America.
Absolutely.
No, don't misunderstand me. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying,
You just said,
a few Black folks do have economic power. If we could just consolidate it, we could make some impact. I'm just saying, when you got people like that who can get in, Snoop Dogg got the resources to run through the regulation and do these things and those things. Most small businesses don't have those kind of resources.
Not at all.
You understand? So what I'm saying is, when you say 0.2%, you might only be talking about 1 or 2 or 3 individuals.
And we can name them. We can name them.
Yeah.
And I think that's the fight for us. It's always going to be, how do we get economic parity? Because with economic parity comes everything else that comes along with it. And so if
Exactly.
people wonder why we harp on this subject, it's because we believe that we do not have a social economic problem.
We know
We
we-
have an economic social problem. If we have the economics, we can fix a lot of our social problems. We see that on a continuous basis when people, even in high school, even when it comes to college graduation, the students who have higher income families tend to graduate from college. Those who don't have the resources, don't have the support system, it makes it difficult. So all we continue to do, and we're going to continue to be the advocate
Beat
for
that drum.
diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility.
Black people.
Continue to fight the fight. We talked today about the art of the stall because we know, and we've seen it, that they do a number of things to simply impede our progress so that even when we win, we don't win. And the psychology of it is that eventually people stop even trying.
That's right.
And you don't want to have a generation of people who lose their entrepreneurship spirit. So we should want to take that other call real quick?
Audaciously insulting is what that is. The art of the stall is audaciously insulting.
Absolutely.
So you know what? We also have another caller on the line, Mr. Robert. Why don't you come on, wake us up? Tell us what you're thinking about, sir.
Thanks for holding for us.
Thanks for holding.
Oh, thank you for taking my call. You mentioned in the art of the stall, and I've identified it as beginning 21 years prior to the gentleman from Ohio stated that in 1989 he identified the stall of delaying contract qualifications. Herbert Hill spoke in Congress in the Senate in 1968, the day after Dr. King was assassinated. And he talked about the AFL-CIO was the principal bodies who were denying the opportunity for blacks in this country of gaining knowledge and training and understanding through the Model Cities program. They were not going to train blacks in carpentry, plumbing, and electricity in those programs. And they moved on through, and I'll make it quick because I know your time is short. They made it quick by denying the opportunity in the womb of society and education in the high schools and the industrial programs, the training to become carpenters, plumbers, so that you will not have the Ernest Browns. And Ernest Brown is a major contractor here in Chicago, who is a graduate and alumni of Dunbar Vocational High School. Your trades programs in the high school have been shut down. And the principal bodies behind those are your private clubs, and each city has one, or has several, for that matter. In Chicago, you have the City Club, the Chicago Club. In San Francisco, you have the Bohemian Club, which I've heard much about. Those clubs decide what programs will move forward and gaining parity in society. And when you have black communities who are attempting to move forward and are being denied the opportunity, this is your legislators. When you have lobbying day, your legislators should be moving towards bringing these vocational programs back into the public school systems. You have the Smith-Hughes Act, which was 1917.
Yes, listen. Hey, you're throwing a lot of great knowledge at us, but we only have a couple minutes left.
Okay,
but we love to get your number, call you back. I like to call you back personally as president of the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce and find a way of connecting and getting that information, because knowledge is power. Yeah. We have a couple other callers who are holding on, but the time is at hand. Let me say to Raphael Underwood, thank you for being on the show today from the state of Ohio. And to everyone, to our producer, LaDonna Ray, thank you for helping us to do what we do. But to all our listeners out there, stay connected to the Wake Up Show Chicago every Saturday and come and participate. Sign up, Facebook Live, YouTube. Get engaged and get involved. Get ready to come down there and lobby day in numbers that is unexpected, so that we can make sure that the voice of Black business is heard loud and clear, and that we sit at the table instead of being away from the table. Like we said, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get at the table and let's get engaged, let's get involved, and let's make it happen. We got a big cruise coming up too for you guys that we're going to talk about the next Saturday.
ILBCC.org. Get your info there at the Wake Up Show Chicago. Punch it into your browser, and we will see you next Saturday.
The Wake Up Show Chicago. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. share. It's The Wake Up Show every Saturday morning at 9, where change begins with every sunrise.
Welcome to the Wake Up Show, Chicago.
What he's saying for the new SOAR video